Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're looking at a really fascinating historical source.
Yeah,
It's an excerpt, just one piece, detailing the core principles of public administration way back in early Islamic history.
right. Foundational stuff.
Exactly. And our mission really is to dig into this, pull out some key insights about governance from that time.
Mhm.
Specifically justice, accountability, service.
And maybe see what resonates,
Yeah.
right? Any nuggets of wisdom for today's challenges,
Mm-hmm.
achieving, well, ethical governance.
Precisely.
And just to be clear, we're not saying, let's copy the past. It's more
Mm-mm.
about understanding the values that shape things then.
Absolutely. See if they offer any fresh perspectives for now.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's jump in. Justice. Our source is pretty clear. This wasn't just like a legal idea. It was the bedrock.
hmm
Can you paint a bit of a picture? How did this actually work in the early Islamic world?
Well, what's really interesting is the effort they put in. Early rulers, they really tried to build systems aiming for fairness.
Mm.
So, for instance, you read accounts of Caliph Umar actually walking through markets himself.
Really?
Yeah, checking prices, making sure dealings were just fair for everyone,
Yeah.
merchants and buyers. There was a real, tangible effort to apply the law equally.
Okay.
And they also developed ways for ordinary people to bring forward grievances. It wasn't just abstract.
Right. So actual systems on the ground, not just ideals. That kind of leads naturally to accountability, doesn't it?
It does.
How are leaders held responsible back then?
Well, accountability was deeply embedded in the ethics, the religion of the time. The idea was that leadership itself was
I trust.
a trust from God, carrying a immense responsibility. We might not see like modern democratic checks and balances,
Right, of course.
but there was definitely this strong emphasis. You see examples, early caliphs consulting advisors, councils,
Uh-huh.
and even facing public criticism if people thought their actions were unjust. Maybe not formalized like today, but the principle of being answerable, it was definitely there.
A sense of divinely ordained responsibility. That's a powerful idea. And that connects to service, right? The
Yeah.
third principle.
Yes, absolutely.
How did that show up? Service as a core function.
Well, it translated pretty directly into developing public services,
Sure.
real things.
Such as?
We see the start of Weimar stands. These were essentially early public hospitals.
Wow, hospitals.
Yeah, offering care to everyone regardless of their background. And there was serious investment in infrastructure too, canals, roads.
Hmm.
The key thing was this wasn't primarily for the ruler's gain. It was meant to help trade, improve life for the general population. The community's welfare was central.
It's fascinating, that connection. Principles leading to tangible benefits like healthcare and roads. Now, our source kind of hints
Yeah.
that these historical ideas might, offer some insights for tackling modern issues like corruption or ineffective governance. What's
Yeah.
your take on that, Link?
I think the excerpt raises a really valid point there. Obviously, the context today is vastly different, worlds apart. But the underlying values, maybe they're timeless. That historical emphasis on ethical leadership, the idea of public office as a sacred trust, this commitment to serving the common good,
Hmm.
those things could certainly inform how we talk about governance and corruption now. It's really about identifying those core principles that back then fostered some degree of effective and just administration.
And thinking how those values might be adapted.
Exactly. How they might be reemphasized today. And again, this isn't about pushing a specific political system, not at
Yeah.
all. It's just looking at fundamental ethical considerations from a historical lens.
Got it. So just to kind of wrap up the main points, we've seen justice, accountability, and service weren't just abstract concepts in early Islamic public administration.
No, definitely not.
They were active principles. They had real-world effects, leading to things like those early hospitals and infrastructure development.
Precisely. They were put into practice, They actually shaped people's lives and the society around them.
Which leaves us, and you listening, with maybe a final thought to chew on. Considering this historical focus on justice, accountability, and service, how might reflecting on values like these challenge our current ways of thinking about public service and governance?
That's the question.
Yeah. And what fundamental shifts, maybe in mindset or approach, would actually be needed to better embody principles like these in the very complex world we live in now in the 21st century?